talked about that with Knicks coach Pat Riley.
I think they deserve the right to. I know when somebody's clamoring for something that they have and you want desperately, you know, the psychological ploy on their part has always been that we're not good enough, that we're too old, that, you know, there's a short window here for us, and never really gave this team the credit, you know, that we deserve, whether we believe it or not. So, I mean, I don't go to sleep at night worrying about gaining their respect, but I do think it's a ploy on their part to constantly dismiss what we've done in the past, and that's okay, you know.
Well, the Bulls have been waving their championship rings in the faces of the Knicks for the last 3 years, and Pat Riley recognizes it for what it is, a total lack of respect. But that's the way it's been in the NBA. Detroit had to overcome Boston. Chicago had to overcome Detroit. And until the New York Knicks knock out the Chicago Bulls from a playoff series, the Bulls just will not budge.
All right, when we come back, we will have the regular season finale at what is affectionately known as the Madhouse on Madison. This is the 335th consecutive sellout here. Stadium, part of the charm here at the stadium in recent years, the unique presentation of the starting lineups. Let's go to Ray Clay on the public address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome the world's greatest fans to the Chicago Stadium. The Chicago Bulls' last regular season home game in the old barn, the Chicago Stadium. Today's game is between the New York Knicks and your Chicago Bulls. Now for today's lineups. First for the visiting New York Knicks. At forward from St. Louis, 6'8", Anthony Bonner. A 6'9" forward from Virginia Union, Charles Oakley. At center, 7 foot from Georgetown, Patrick Ewing. At one guard from North Carolina, 6'5", Hubert Davis. At the other guard, 6'4", from Illinois, Derek Harper. The New York Knicks are coached by Pat Riley, assisted by Jeff Van Gundy and Dick Harder. The trainer, Mike Saunders.
To a man who has made it back from special assignment with Inside Stuff and was kind enough to fit us into his extremely busy schedule. It is indeed the return of the dean of sideline reporting. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
My customary visits to both locker rooms, and the conversation was all about the upcoming playoffs. Now, when I mentioned to Charles Oakley that this might be a meaningless game, he said that is not the case. We look at Chicago as a team to beat. This is the team that stands in the way of our quest for a championship, and we want to leave a message here today. I talked to Scottie Pippen. He said, anytime we play the Knicks, it is always personal, and that is meaning enough for me. I had to remind both players that anytime Marv's at a game, it's always a big game.
Thank you so much, Ahmad. The New York Knicks with 2 straight wins after losing 6 of 9. Friday night, blowout of Milwaukee after beating Philadelphia by 48 points to tie a club record for margin of victory, but that preceded by huge losses to Atlanta and last Sunday in Charlotte, which led to Pat Riley after the Charlotte game, a Charlotte team that was without Alonzo Mourning because of the suspension. Pat saying he felt that he had failed. He was upset because he felt his players thought they could just turn it on and off, turn it up a notch when the playoffs begin, and as he said clearly, you can't do that.
And Pat Riley has tried to use every motivational ploy in his bag of tricks this year, and I think a part of that was that too, although it was a major disappointment in losing to Charlotte. I thought the Knicks played well enough to win the game in Atlanta, but just did come up short. And even though the two blowouts against Philadelphia and Milwaukee were not against the strongest teams in the league, he's got to feel better about his team today.
The officials, Joe Crawford, Bill Spooner, and N.F. Rush. The Knicks controlling the opening tip. Here is Hubert Davis. Yes, the Chicago Bulls blew an opportunity on Friday night as they lost at home to the Boston Celtics in double overtime, 104 to 94. Pete Brown lighting it up for 38 points, and the Celtics won without Dino Raja, who was sidelined by injury. Scottie Pippen has tied the game at 2, and it was Scottie Pippen missing some key shots down the stretch, a couple of critical free throws in that first overtime. And as it turned out, that loss wiped away the Bulls' chances. So with Atlanta winning yesterday against Orlando, the seeds are now set. Davis came from out of bounds as he tried to set up, and the ball goes back to the Bulls.
Well, two ex-teammates, Bill Cartwright and Patrick Ewing, reuniting their matchup, which has been a good one over the years, especially in playoff situations. And normally Bill plays Patrick all alone and tries to bump him and bang him as much as possible.
Cartwright has done a good job against his one-time teammate. They certainly did a lot of bumping against each other during practice sessions. Ewing with the rejection, landing in the lap of Phil Jackson.
Scottie Pippen trying to come out and establish himself offensively right away, goes by Anthony Bonner. The help coming over from Patrick Ewing. It seems when Scottie Pippen tries to too much scoring himself, the Bulls suffer.
Here's Grant getting inside, stopped by Ewing. And it's a 24-second violation off the inbounds pass. Chicago had only 6 on the shot clock. Entering the game on Friday, the Bulls could have won the conference by beating Boston and New York, but that loss to Boston killed them, with Atlanta wrapping it yesterday at the Omni against Orlando. Foul is called. Foul called on Cartwright. Bill Cartwright reactivated from the injured list. Made his return on Friday night against the Celtics. He had been on the injury list since April the 8th with a sprained lower back. That back has bothered him right throughout the season. Here's Anthony Bonner. Rebounded by Scottie Pippen.
And when Pippen gets a rebound, he's going to try to do a lot of this. Run the fast break. Myers, Armstrong, and Kerr, when he comes in, instructed to run the lanes.
Cartwright's pass was stolen by Hopper. Eric Hopper being played by Pete Myers, who is a very good defensive player. Oakley set the pick. Oakley's pass deflected out. And the Knicks will have 7 on the 24th.
Well, 2 outstanding defensive teams, and of course Derek Harper, very quick and strong hands, got away with a little grab on the elbow to force that turnover from Cartwright.
And B.J. Armstrong lets it go, so Chicago will take over. We're tied at 2 with 2.5 minutes gone by. This is a Chicago team that surprised people by opening up with a record of 34-13. Then they dropped off. They lost 9 of 13, but in recent weeks they turned around. They have won 17 of the last 21. In one stretch, they had won 10 in a row. Cartwright running 2. Did Charles go for the fake of it?
Of course, these two guys were traded for each other some 5 years ago, as Bill Cartwright does not have his timing down very well. And Charles Oakley looking to get a bump and a hard one in.
Those are two players who over the years can hurt people, sometimes inadvertently. Pete Myers, a one-time New York Knick, giving the Bulls a 4-2 lead. Davis for three. Well, Hubert Davis turning it after that 1-for-9 earlier in the week against Atlanta. He has located the range against Philadelphia and Milwaukee, and he hits that shot from downtown. Here's Myers. Myers squeezing his way inside, rebounded by Oakley, tripped himself up, and then is tied up. Scottie Pippen called for the foul.
And the crowd reacts to that as both Pippen and Grant and Charles Oakley all go for the loose ball. The flipper by Pete Myers knocked loose, and actually Charles Oakley was tripped inadvertently from behind by Bill Cartwright. But to say this game might not have some meaning, I don't think these players care really. They're going to go for loose balls and they're going to bang bodies.
Yes, they are playing hard here at the start. Delay of game warning charge for the Bulls with Pippen knocking the ball aside. It's the Knicks 5 and the Bulls 4. Ewing getting position on Cartwright. And the Knicks lead 7-4.
Good defense played by Cartwright, just a better offensive move. Actually, Pippen came over to look for a double team. He's got the green light on defense.
Beautiful change of pace move by Pippen. Knicks by 1. Here's Hopper going all the way. Derek Hopper will do that from time to time. He will fool the opposition. They think he'll pull up and he goes all the way. Bonner with the rebound. Bonner delivers to Davis. And Davis on the drive. Hubert Davis has improved his ball handling and the dribble drive. He's given the Knicks an 11-6 advantage. Phil Jackson wants to talk it over. Timeout taken. 7:42 to go in this first quarter here at Chicago Stadium. Was expected from the Chicago Bulls this season following that third straight championship. Yet this Bulls team has won 55 and lost 26, the third seed in the Eastern Conference. Phil Jackson has done a terrific job in getting this club to this level. We asked Phil how satisfying has this season been for him.
I can't think of another major departure from a ball club in the history of the NBA where a team has survived that loss as well as our team has. Bill Russell from the Celtics on down, the MVP-type players that have left that ball club the year following. We've had a great, successful run at this thing, and I think it speaks volumes about the quality of this championship team that people were maybe saying little about in the last couple of years, but now they see Pippen, Grant, B.J. Armstrong, Cartwright, Paxson, and the entourage of players that helped, and Scott Williams, etc. And their quality and what they can bring to the game and the effect of our game on this league. And I think it's a great statement.
And not only did Scottie Pippen have an MVP caliber season, also B.J. Armstrong and Horace Grant making the All-Star team, but tremendous contribution from various people on the bench.
And as you can see right here, when Bill Russell retired, when Wilt Chamberlain retired, when Magic Johnson retired, the win difference dropped considerably, yet Michael Jordan departs. And this team with that record of 55 and 26 nearly matched what was accomplished last season after 81 games with Jordan. They were 57 and 24. They finished at 57 and 25. It turns out losing the final game of the regular season. That counts at the 24-second buzzer. Patrick Ewing gives the Knicks a 13-8 lead. These two clubs concluded the regular season at the Garden a year ago, and the Knicks defeated the Chicago Bulls for win number 60. Charles Smith has checked in for the first time, replacing Charles Oakley, and the foul called on the drive by Hubert Davis.
One of the problems the Knicks have had all season long is scoring points and shooting from the perimeter. Probably their best shooter is this guy, Patrick Ewing. Maybe a little step or two outside his range, but he'll take the shot anytime it presents itself. Hubert Davis also off to a good start in this ballgame, as Patrick Ewing has been one guy on the New York Knicks who has pretty much kept his mouth shut this year through the good times and through the bad.
Myers called for the foul. So Hubert Davis at the line. Hubert has hit 3 of 3 from the field, including 1 from downtown. Luke Longley has checked in, replacing Bill Cartwright. I mentioned Charles Smith coming on for the first time. Last time that Charles faced the Bulls, that was back in February in New York, 1 for 12 from the field, and heard the boos as he has right throughout in games at the Garden. He's become the target of the frustration of Knick fans at the Garden. He's been the symbol of any Knick failures, the result of several factors. As look out, Myers getting involved, Davis and Ewing.
The next personal foul, 44, Hubert Davis.
Also trying to get to it. Scottie Pippen being ushered aside by the official, Bill Spooner. You know, when Pete Myers was a member of the New York Knicks, and I don't think many people are aware of it, he and Patrick Ewing did not get along well. One of the reasons that led to the departure of Myers, who was very effective during the days of Rick Pitino's pressing defense, Hubert Davis called for a technical, along with Ewing, who was Luke Longley, and Scottie Pippen, all called for tees. Ewing very quick to step in to the aid of Davis. Pete Myers. Now they made a correction. It was Pippen and Myers, not Longley. Let's take another look at that sequence.
Well, normally it's Myers who's such an agitator at the defensive end. Here's Hubert Davis getting right up in the face of Myers and trying to apply a lot of pressure.
And you mentioned the word agitator. As Longley puts the move on, and he was fouled. Luke Longley will go to the line. Foul called on Ewing. Ewing would get upset by the agitating of Myers during Knick practice sessions.
I think Patrick is a no-nonsense guy. Yes, he appreciates hard play and physical play. He has had to step in a number of times with John Starks to try to keep him under control. And Patrick is very professional. I think sometimes he thinks maybe Pete Myers takes it to an extreme.
Well, Pete is the type of guy who can get on players' nerves. He plays hard, and he's also trying to use the tools that he has. He's strictly a defensive presence. Here he is in the starting lineup. With Michael Jordan departing, it's Pete Myers who was the starting guard at that position. This is a guy who's been around. He was drafted by the Bulls in the 6th round in '86. Spent a couple of years with Chicago, then some time in the CBA in San Antonio and Philly, the Knicks, New Jersey, San Antonio. Spent 2 years in Europe, and here he is back with the Chicago Bulls.
And so far, Hubert Davis is lighting him up at the offensive end of the floor.
Yes, that may also have something to do with what took place. Here's Bonner. His pass picked off by Pippen. Pippen for Grant. Morris Grant on a fadeaway is called for a traveling violation.
It's still a good fast break opportunity for the Bulls. Armstrong and Myers got wide on the wings, left the open middle of the floor for Pippen to operate. Good look inside to Grant. Just Patrick Ewing in there to stop it.
The Knicks lead 15-10 with just under 6 minutes to go. First quarter. Davis with the off-balance shot. Smith couldn't hold on, and Pippen able to palm it. Scottie picked it off the floor in palming style. Knicks had hit the last 5 shots prior to that miss. Grant with Longley and Pippen on the front line. Armstrong and Myers in the back door. Oh, Pippen hit the deck. Crowd wanted to foul him. Pippen ends up with the ball. And Bill Spooner blowing the whistle. And apparently questioning the 24-second clock. You may see an adjustment here.
Scottie Pippen likes to put the ball on the floor and get into the lane as much as possible. This time he is out of control against the pressure defense from New York. Forced to take a very bad shot. Winds up on the floor, but this is when you know things are going your way. Down on all fours, but you still get a rebound. And they're going to say that I thought that ball did hit the rim. They're going to say it did hit the rim and give a new shot clock. I'm sorry. Now they got it down to 12 mark.
So they did readjust the shot clock, and it is at 12. 5:20 to go in this first quarter. Fourth meeting of the season between these two clubs. The Knicks have won 2 of 3, all low-scoring games. Hopper to the loose ball. Hopper and Davis at the guards. Ewing, Bonner, and Smith up front. Smith getting the call off the bench. Anthony Mason still serving his suspension. Smith fouled by Grant. Let's go over to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, Marv, earlier on in the quarter, Charles Oakley was cut above the eye, right above his left eye. He caught an inadvertent elbow. It appears that he caught it right there from Patrick Ewing. Mike Saunders has applied some ferric silver sulfate. That's what they use on boxers to close the cut, and he is prepared to come back in. Marv?
Getting right to it, and Charles Oakley, as you mentioned, Ahmad, making his way in the direction of the scorer's table. Nice backdoor pass, lonely from Myers, but he blew the layup. Grant is right there. And the Knicks now lead 15-12. As I started to mention, Anthony Mason suspended indefinitely this past Thursday for conduct called detrimental to the team. Myers hit the floor, crowd looking for a foul, and Anthony Bonner hitting a rarity, a jump shot from about 10 feet away. Anthony Bonner has had a very fine season for the Knicks, but most of his offense comes off the drive, and Bonner called for the foul on Pippen. For Bonner, his first.
Well, the Knicks have played outstanding defense here in this first quarter. Ewing on the pick, on the wipeout pick, and they're also trying to execute their offense and send messages every opportunity that they get.
Patrick Ewing earlier this quarter in a heated discussion with Pete Myers. And Hopper called for the foul. It puts the Knicks over the foul limit. Anthony Mason had questioned Pat Riley for benching him in the second half last Tuesday in the game against Atlanta, and then further questioned Riley's definition of offense, which was not appreciated, making the statement that he is a better offensive player all around than Charles Smith. It's actually the first time that Pat Riley had ever suspended a player in his 12 years in coaching. Going back to his Laker days, we asked Pat the status of Anthony Mason. The playoff rosters must be established tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern time, and he said they have not made up their mind.
I'm sure they have. They're just not going to tell us at this particular point.
Are you saying you don't think that Pat would tell us today?
No.
I'm shocked. But one thing for certain, John Starks will be put on that roster. The question is how much he will play in the first round, coming back from the arthroscopic knee surgery. 3:35 to go in this first quarter. Pippen's pass picked off by Oakley. The Knicks have a 17-13 lead. Ewing with the drop step blocked by Longley.
Early in this ball game, Phil Jackson wanted to get some minutes for Bill Cartwright, let him maybe soften up Patrick Ewing with a lot of bumps, and now I think he wants to find out just how well Luke Longley can play Patrick Ewing. Last Sunday against Shaquille O'Neal, I think he found out very early in that ball game. Big Luke has all kinds of problems with Shaquille O'Neal, one-on-one coverage, and even with double teams. And here, Luke Longley just not quick enough to move the feet against a good offensive player like Patrick Ewing.
But Phil Jackson on his way to setting an NBA record for most centers on a roster at the same time. He certainly has a lot of fouls to give at the center position. There's Cartwright, he has Longley, he has Scott Williams, who can play center. He has Bill Wennington, Corey Blunt, who is now on the injured list. The rookie from Cincinnati can also play center, and Will Perdue, who is back on the active roster.
And he needs more of a contribution than just the physical play and the fouls. They also have to play their role in the offensive scheme of things, get some field goals here and there as well.
Shot clock at 7. Pippen from deep. Scottie Pippen has been off 3 of 8 from the field.
And the New York Knicks defense is tenacious. They are challenging every pass, every shot, really working hard.
Ewing, Longley gave a difficult time on that shot. Hopper ends up with the ball. And the Knicks regroup. Here's the double team. Smith for the open shot. Charles Smith hits the straightaway jumper. The Knicks lead by 8. I talked about the difficulties that Smith has had in New York with the crowd reacting or overreacting to him at times. Smith with that rebound. And there are several factors involved. The sequence at the end of Game 5, last year's playoff series against the Bulls, he couldn't hit on the 4 straight opportunities underneath. And the fact that the Knicks signed him to that enormous contract, and he has not played well, partially due to knee problems. And he's more of a finesse player on a team that has very, very tough players. Completely different style that Charles Smith provides.
He has had to become a perimeter shooter because the inside is taken up so much by Patrick Ewing. But I think Charles Smith's biggest problem with the fans in New York and maybe some of the media is his demeanor.
Timeout is called by the Knicks. A poor shooting first quarter for both teams. Knicks lead by 8. BC. Welcome back to Chicago Stadium, a building that opened back in 1929. Building that has been the site of NBA championships, Stanley Cup Championship Series, Elvis Presley concerts, a Democratic National Convention, among other events. Ahmad Rashad is in the deep bowels of this 65-year-old arena.
Thanks, Marv. Now, there are a lot of private places here in this great old building, but none more private than right here in the Chicago Blackhawks locker room. Now, this is a place where a lot of the players would come down just to get away and have some silence and reflect on the game. It's also the place that I would always find Michael Jordan before each and every game, sitting in here, getting ready to play. The strange thing was, he never talked about basketball. As a matter of fact, there were times when we would fool around with some of this equipment in here. I guess that got him ready to play. Marv?
Well, the Rashad household, I have a feeling, will have some newly added hockey equipment in the rec room by tonight. You know that Jeremy Roenick and Chris Chelios jerseys really look good on some of the Rashad youngsters.
How about the helmet?
A minute 37 remaining in the first quarter. The Knicks with a 21-13 lead. A loose ball foul was called. The Bulls 5 of 16 from the field in this first quarter. Oakley was called for the foul, his second, and the Knicks are over the limit, so Scottie Pippen will go to the line. Phil Jackson with a new backcourt. John Paxson and Steve Kerr have come on. It's Luke Longley, Horace Grant, and Scottie Pippen up front. Scottie Pippen missed those 2 critical free throws on Friday night in that double overtime loss to the Celtics. And Scottie has certainly struggled at the line.
All season long, he's finally gotten it up to around 67%. Actually, in that ball game, he was 7 for 10, but missed the 2 crucial ones.
The Knicks facing some pressure. Phil Jackson is turning it on and off. Patrick Ewing with 8 points. The Knicks, as you mentioned at the start, are vulnerable to the trap, to the pressing defense, particularly on the part of the Chicago Bulls. Man, I don't think they're going to show too much of it, but it's a bit of a message should these clubs get together in the second round.
Well, I just want to show it, make the Knicks think about it, force them to work on something else during their little mini camp in preparation for the finals.
Horace Grant cuts it to a 7-point Knick lead. Against the pressure, the Knicks in great need of a ball handler like Anthony Mason. Derek Harper has not handled it well. Charles Smith has not handled it well. Bad pass, and Pippen collides with Greg Anthony to try to draw the ball. Here's Paxson, and rebounded by Anthony. Anthony pushing it down with 40 seconds left in the first quarter. Greg Anthony too strong. He has shot well recently. He's played very well as of late.
And actually, that not a bad shot. It was a 2-for-1 situation where the Knicks wanted to take advantage of the shot clock. Probably a lot of people watching thought we shouldn't have taken it 1-on-4.
Out of 5 on the 24. Kerr for Pippen. 1 on the 24. A 3-pointer for Scottie Pippen.
So much for the percentages, but you're seeing now the second percentage for New York, with just under 10 seconds to go in the first quarter.
The Knicks lead is 4. Final seconds of the quarter. Anthony. Yes. Greg Anthony with a nice move, setting himself up. And that will do it. After 1 here at Chicago. The Knicks 25 and the Bulls 19. The Knicks led by Patrick Ewing. 3 field goals, 8 points in all for Ewing. Scottie Pippen, high man for Chicago with 10. Knicks by 6. We'll be back with the second quarter in a moment.
Welcome back to Chicago Stadium. Michael Jordan is not here today, but his 2 boys, Marcus Jordan and Jeffrey Jordan, are, and they are rooting the Bulls on. Now, I talked to you guys earlier. What's your favorite sport? Is it baseball or basketball?
Basketball.
What is it?
Basketball. Baseball.
Well, there you go. It's split here, but they're here today, and they're trying to cheer the Bulls on. Marv?
You know, Matt, I find that Ahmad does his best work with kids and pets. And as we mentioned on Showtime, Michael Jordan was in town today, appearing at a charity breakfast at his restaurant, but then made his way to Nashville because his club, the Birmingham Barons, playing the Nashville Express this afternoon. So Tony Kukoc entered the game for the first time. So it's Kerr and Paxson in the backcourt. Here's Pippen for 3 again. He ended the first quarter with a 3, and he opens the second quarter from downtown.
New York has a big front line in there right now with Smith, Oakley, and Ewing. Charles, I should say Tony Kukoc is going to be matched up with Oakley, and Oakley should have a powerful height and size, not height, but size advantage inside going to the boards.
Ewing was fouled. Foul committed by Longley.
Here's Scottie Pippen given a lot of room by Charles Smith, way off him some 10-12 feet. As Scottie Pippen really looking for a shot. That's his 10th shot of this ball game. As Patrick Ewing once again stepping out and setting that pick, and in so doing forces Luke Longley to step wider out and get a nice pass inside. So Patrick Ewing moving on that pick now for the second time that at least we've seen, but he likes to do that.
Patrick averaging only 19 points per game against the Bulls. The games have been very low scoring. The previous 3 games, Knicks losing here in Chicago back in December, 98-96. Knicks beat the Bulls both times in New York, 86-68 and then 87-78. Pippen off the drive draws the foul. A little reverse English tossed up by Scottie Pippen.
Anthony Bonner putting a lot of pressure on Scottie Pippen about 28 feet from the basket. That is too far away, and Pippen able to beat him on the dribble and draw both Charles Smith and Patrick Ewing. And I'm sure Pat Riley, all he talked about it to his team before this ball game was, let's come out and be as aggressive as we can defensively and let the offense take care of itself. That's certainly what happened in this first quarter.
And Ewing will sit down after picking up his second. Well, the Chicago Bulls this season shooting just under 71% from the line. That's among the worst percentages in that department in the league. And as you see, the lowest in the history of the Bulls franchise. Pippen is now 3 of 4 from the line, and he has 15 points. Here's the pressure again. It's Blackman now and Anthony in the backcourt with Herb Williams replacing Patrick Ewing up front with Charles Smith and Anthony Bonner. Knicks by 2. They led by as many as 9. Smith able to get inside. The Knicks 28. And the Bulls 24 with 1 minute gone by in the second.
Charles Smith has moved to the power forward position. There's just no way Tony Kukoc can play Smith inside. We saw it there.
Steve Kerr battling for position, wants the shot. Played well by Anthony. Longley comes up short. Marv Albert, Matt Gukas, and Ahmad Rashad from Chicago Stadium. Final regular season game ever here at the stadium. Smith. Well, Charles Smith shooting well, 3 of 4, 6 points in the blowout against Milwaukee. Charles Smith 7 of 13 for 17 points, so maybe relocating the stroke. Tony Kukoc with a nice pass, and Luke Longley was fouled. Rolando Blackman came over to help out. Herb Williams picks it up, though, his first, and Luke Longley, one-time member of the Australian Olympic team from Melbourne, Australia, will go to the line. #1 draft pick of Minnesota, selection overall. Spent 2 years with the Timberwolves and then acquired in the deal for Stacey King. He missed the last 3 games with a sprained ligament in his left knee, and Phil Jackson was telling us he's a question mark, but he's been getting the playing time here today.
Well, Phil Jackson has brought in Scott Williams now to play the big forward spot and guard Charles Smith. He didn't like the way it looked with Tony Kukoc not being able to defend Smith inside or out.
And Pippen sits down. He's the high man with 15. Again, the pressure. Knicks have handled it well to this point. Herb Williams, nowhere to go along the baseline. It's closed by Luke Longley. Longley stepping out against Anthony. Knicks having trouble finding a shot. Bonner rebounded by Longley. Kerr was looking for the pull-up. Williams feeding Longley. Nice play.
Well, you don't normally see Scott Williams make those kinds of passes, but a good job by Longley just to bust hard down the lane, have his hands ready. Good look by Scott Williams.
The Knicks lead 30-28. Blackman. And Kukoc reaching for it. Tony Kukoc not shooting well recently, not getting the playing time in recent weeks. Scott Williams with a bad shot. Kukoc with the rebound. And then Williams control. Anthony on the run. Anthony with a twister. And handled by Williams. Back come the Bulls. Kukoc gives it back. And the foul is called. Nice move by Tony Kukoc. That's why in Europe they nicknamed him the waiter for his ability to serve up the perfect pass. And he did right there.
Sean Kemp and the Sonics take on the Trailblazers next on NBC. The NBA on NBC is brought to you by new Ice Brewed Ice Draft from Budweiser. Taste the future of draft beer. By the people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it. And by the all-new Mitsubishi Galant, filled with your favorite things.
Well, some unlikely transition players. Scott Williams here, Luke Longley ready to run the floor and go right down the lane. The key is right here, the head up by Scott Williams. And right in here, let's stop right there as Charles Smith getting over too late. He's got to step up in that dotted line area there and stop the play or take the charge, or Luke Longley will get an easy one.
Scott Williams has had an injury-hit season. This is only his 38th game of the season, and he has made it clear, of course, they've heard these sentiments from a couple of players here in Chicago, that he'd like to go elsewhere. Horace Grant saying last week that he is out of Chicago as an unrestricted free agent and wants to play in Orlando, but we've heard Horace mention other destinations from time to time, but Will Perdue has also made the point that he is not happy. Remington with the tip. Will Perdue with a very sizable contract, and I would think it would be tough for Perdue to make a move. Game is tied at 30. 8.5 remaining in the first half. Now Bill Wennington matched with Herb Williams. Smith from deep. Yes. And Charles Smith on target. He's 4 of 5. He has 8 points. The Knicks 32, the Bulls 30.
Well, during all of his injury problems in the middle of the year, the only thing he could do is shoot, and that's where he improved his range. I think he takes too many shots too far out on the floor.
Wennington with Kukoc and Williams in the backcourt. Paxson, I should say in the backcourt. The front line is Kukoc, Wennington, and Williams. Anthony played by Kerr. And Paxson going down. Offensive foul charge to Williams.
And Charles Smith coming out very active offensively, either in the low post or here setting the little pick and spot up play. Every time he gets his hands on the ball, he's looking to score it. And I'm sure Pat Riley and the coaches have told him, just be aggressive as possible, and that'll get your game going.
Back on February the 20th, Charles Smith only 1 for 12 from the field. That game at the Garden against Chicago. Kukoc tried to deliver. Blackman off the steal. Anthony for Blackman. 3-on-2. Smith trying to finish, and he's fouled.
Well, excellent ball handling on the part of the New York Knicks. This has been a problem for them all season long. When they do get this fast break chance, normally they bobble the ball. Ro Blackman does an excellent job of feeding Smith, who runs the left lane very hard, and the uncharacteristic hard foul by Steve Kerr with the proper play.
So Charles Smith to the free throw line. Charles Smith has had a very difficult season, averaging about 10 a game, shooting only 44%. These are all career lows. He has not had the playing time until recently because of the knee injury. Charles coming back from arthroscopic knee surgery. Returning from that knee injury, he's averaging only 6-7 points per game. Knicks by 3. Charles Oakley getting set to return. Kukoc for 3. And the hustle rebound for Scott Williams. Paxson for 3. Yes. Oh, the crowd loves that. John Paxson warming up for the playoffs. This is only his 27th game this season. Activated off the injured list 2 weeks ago. After sitting it out with tendonitis in his left knee, you can hear the response. They're still cheering the three-pointer by Paxson. Friendly rim for Smith. But the basket will not count. It hit off the top of the backboard.
Now John Paxson standing up, feet under him, and is this thing of beauty? And the crowd felt it as it left his hand, as Tony Kukoc actually shoots this one. As the Bulls come away with the offensive rebound. As John Paxson, all kinds of room, lets that fly, and about 18,000 people saw him unleash that shot. Charles Smith, very aggressive offensively, shooting it just about every time he touches it, feeling it. The reason this is going to be a violation, off the front of the rim, straight up in the air, and hit the bottom of the 24-second clock. Actually, the ball is in play on the sides, top, and underneath the backboard, but once it touches that clock, violation.
And Charles Smith sitting down. 9 points for Smith. John Paxson getting this crowd going a moment ago when he hit that three-point shot. He received a standing ovation. 6:25 remaining in the first half. Game tied at 33. Paxson again trying the three, and it carries out of bounds. John Paxson, one of the great clutch shooters in playoff history. You can see the numbers last year, 58%. And in last year's NBA final, he hit 9 of 14 from three-point range, including that game winner in game number 6. Playoff heroics, nothing new to John Paxson. Kukoc with the steal. Kerr on the pull-up. So the Bulls have come from 9 points down and now lead the Knicks 35-33.
Nice job by Tony Kukoc on the fast break. He becomes the primary ball handler right now with Scottie Pippen on the bench.
Power move by Patrick Ewing. Ewing back in after a short rest. He has 11, and the game is tied at 35. Wennington, Williams, Kukoc up front. Paxson and Kerr at the guard. Here's Williams. That was deflected short. Williams missed, and then it's knocked out of bounds by Williams. Hubert Davis, who has shot extremely well against the Bulls this season, replacing Rolando Blackman. Hubert in this first half, 3 out of 5 for 9 points. Overall, he is 19 for 28 against Chicago. Anthony and Davis now the guards. Good play by Wennington and fronting Ewing.
Yeah, good job by Wennington, but a poor execution by Hubert Davis as Patrick Ewing let him know on the way down the court. Take the ball down lower before you make that entry pass to the post.
But Davis gets it back on the steal. Ewing from Oakley. And the Knicks lead by 2.
Again, the Knicks look sharp on their fast break ball handling and getting a lot of good shots out of it.
Just under 5 minutes remaining in the first half. Final regular season game for both teams. Both looking ahead to the playoffs. First round matchup not yet set. Scott Williams ties at it at 37. There are still questions regarding the New Jersey Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2 seeds still are uncertain. Greg Anthony off the mark. Anthony Bonner is there, and he's hit from behind by Scott Williams. Now, Cleveland wins this afternoon against Boston. We'll get back to that in a moment.
Well, Tony Kukoc, not known for his defense, can be frisky because of quick hands and long arms. Come over and strip Patrick Ewing and takes the middle on the break and finds the shooter, Steve Kerr, wide open as Patrick Ewing is furious out there. And I think the officials, because he told him, Kukoc, hacked Ewing.
As I started to say, Cleveland wins this afternoon against Boston in Cleveland. The Cavaliers will then lock up 6th seed, and they would face the Bulls in the first round. If the Cavaliers lose today, then the Nets can lock up the number 6th seed with a victory tonight in Orlando, and they would face the Bulls. If the Cavaliers and the Nets both lose, 2nd seed Knicks would go up against number 7 New Jersey, and then 3rd seed Chicago against Cleveland. My best advice, wait for it to all conclude, and then you check your local papers in the morning. Knicks by 1, 38-37, shot clock down to 1, and Pippen rims the basket from some 35 feet away. Oakley for Davis. Charles had the clear path, but does not like to take it to the hoop. Loose ball foul is called. Oakley called for his 3rd.
Well, Charles Oakley looked a little bit unsure handling the ball there, did the wise thing, gave it to the ball handler Davis, who penetrated and kicked. But Charles looks a little bit tentative offensively, not looking for a shot. I think he came into this ball game with the idea, I'm just going to do things defensively and try to get this team going. He finds himself on the bench right now with foul problems.
And that's the 4th team foul committed by the Knicks. Charles Smith returns. Horace Grant is back, replacing Scott Williams. Leads with a field goal, 2 points. B.J. Armstrong for John Paxson. So it is Kerr and Armstrong at the guards. Grant with Pippen and Weddington up front. 3.5 left, first half. Grant posting up, feeling around for the defender Smith. Weddington way off. And Smith with a good play to block Grant from getting to the ball.
And all afternoon, the big men of the Knicks have done an excellent job of boxing out. You don't normally see that on this level. Everybody goes for the ball, but the Knicks are really paying attention to the fundamentals.
Here's Smith. Pass the shot to give it to Harper. And Derek Harper connects. That's a 3-pointer. Knicks lead 40-37. .245 remaining. First half. Pippen tried to save it. Stepped out, says Joe Crawford. And the Knicks call for time. Look at that attempted save by Scottie Pippen.
Good pressure defense by the Knicks, forcing the Bulls to run their offense much further out on the floor, making the passes that much more difficult, and consequently, Knicks doing an outstanding job.
Mr. Brawley?
Yes.
Do you ever... Bob Costas back in New York, and on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll bring you Peter Vessey's story on the 4 teams of the 80s, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Pistons, and the Sixers. None will be in the playoffs. They'll all be in the lottery this year, and we'll look at what it'll take to return to the top. And we'll be joined live by Magic Johnson shortly before he roams the Lakers sideline for the last time. Lots to do, but first, the conclusion of the first half as we send it back to Marv and Matt in Chicago.
Thank you, Bob. Knicks with a 3-point lead on Chicago. 2:40 remaining in this first half. As Harper moves across against Armstrong. Double dribble is called.
Good pressure defense by the Bulls, forcing the turnover against Hubert Davis. Looking inside, Bill Cartwright and Patrick Ewing all tangled up again. As he does an excellent job defensively, does Bill Cartwright.
Well, Chicago only 13 for 36 from the field, while the Knicks at 52%. Good shooting first half by New York. Slam. His third field goal. He has 6. And the Knicks now lead by 1 point. With the good hustle, deflecting it out of bounds.
Well, Bill Cartwright is never going to let Patrick Ewing go where he wants in the post. He's going to get on top. He's going to get on front. He's going to shed him like he did there. He's going to throw him on the floor if he can.
Smith on a quick release. And Anthony Bonner keeps it alive. Hubert Davis. The tip by Bonner. And that is the skill of Anthony Bonner. Getting to the boards quickly. Keeps balls alive. Anthony Bonner signed as a free agent after 3 years with the Sacramento Kings.
And he got that mainly because Scottie Pippen didn't do either of 2 things. He did not box out Bonner, and he did not go for the basketball.
And the foul called on Bonner.
There's Scottie Pippen in the 2-man play with Bill Cartwright as the switch actually on that time by Patrick Ewing on most pick-and-roll situations, especially if Scottie Pippen is involved. The New York Knicks want to do what they call blitz, and that's trap and trap hard. Although Bonner got tangled up underneath Bill Cartwright in that play. And very rarely do the New York Knicks waver from that philosophy. They want their big men to step out and trap hard. They've been doing it now for the last 3 years. It sometimes gets them in a lot of trouble because teams read it well and exploit it.
Bill Cartwright shooting only 69% from the foul line. Gets on 1 of 2. It's the Knicks 42 and the Bulls 40. Again, some pressure. Blackman met at midcourt by Pippen.
And that pressure, they'll take a steal if it's there, but they just want to make the Knicks use up some clock, take them out of their offense, and get in this kind of situation with one guy holding the basketball.
Cartwright did not like the call. Ian Ewing battling for position. Cartwright picks up his second foul.
And one of the reasons why Bill Cartwright is able to do this, be active, bump, push, get around on the front, is good pressure on the basketball. Bill doesn't understand why a foul is called. He's been doing that about every minute that he's been in the game.
Coming up on a minute remaining in the first half. Hopper. And Pippen with the rebound and the save. Scottie Pippen, the high man, with 15 points. He's hit a couple from downtown. Being played now by Rolando Blackman. Shot clock at 5. Armstrong hit on a reach-in by Hopper. Knicks are over the limit. So Armstrong will go to the line. BJ has been quiet thus far. 1 for 2 from the line, 0 for 1 from the field. Phil Jackson, a man who has used 18 different starting lineups. He has had to do quite a bit of juggling with all the injuries that his club has been hit by. Both the Knicks and the Bulls have suffered through injuries, yet Bulls 55 wins, Knicks with 56. How about B.J. Armstrong at the line? An 87% foul shooter, 1 for 3 here today.
He's just not in any kind of rhythm, and really it's Scottie Pippen's job is to get B.J. Armstrong shots. And Scottie only has 1 assist in this ballgame and has taken 11 shots himself, but he's the guy that's got to get Armstrong going.
The Knicks lead is 1 with a half-minute left. First half. Hopper on a change of direction. Oh, beautiful move by Derek Hopper.
Oh, terrific job and excellent use of the glass as Harper got in there. Looked like he was not going to have any room to get that shot off and kissed it off the glass beautifully.
Knicks 44, the Bulls 41. As Pippen works it down, 10 seconds to go in the half. 1-on-1, Pippen against Blackman. Down to 3. Pippen to the fadeaway. Time has run out in this first half. Scottie Scottie Pippen with 15 points. Patrick Ewing leading the Knicks with 13. Final regular season game for both the Knicks and the Bulls. And it's the Knicks by 3. Stay tuned for the Prudential Halftime Report with Bob Costas after this.
This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Halftime at Chicago Stadium, the Knicks lead the Bulls 44-41. As you know, the NBA playoffs start on Thursday. As we've been saying for much of the season, this should be one of the most wide-open and exciting playoff seasons in memory. You can make a legitimate argument for any of 7 teams winning the title, but it's also a time of change in the NBA. We'll see the new stars like Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Anderson, and Chris Webber playing major playoff roles for the first time for their teams. And there will be other changes, like the Lakers and Celtics for the first time. Those two both are missing from the postseason together for the first time. Add to that the Pistons and the Sixers, and you've got the 4 teams which won all 10 titles in the 80s. How did those 4 teams decline, and what's being done to restore them to contenders status? Peter Vesey looked into it.
Nothing mattered to us but winning. Everything that matters here is cars, beepers, cellular phones, and a contract.
We lost Len Byers, then Larry had his problem, then Kevin had his problems, and then of course we lost Reggie. So I definitely think the Leprechaun been dead for at least the last 6 years.
It's very tough. It's not easy to go from we're the best team, we're going to beat everybody who faces us, to, okay guys, let's just put 3 good quarters together.
They dominated the 80s. Lakers, Celtics, Pistons, and 76ers. Now these 4 proud franchises are reunited in the draft lottery.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rain fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Reggie Lewis's death last summer wasn't the first to affect the Celtics. Len Bias, the 2nd overall pick, died in 1986, taking a potential superstar from Boston's lineup. With McHale, Bird, and now possibly Parrish retired, the Celtics will have no one left to carry on the tradition.
If you put Len Bias and Reggie Lewis in good, healthy conditions where we maybe could have avoided what appears to be the price for winning in the 80s, and that is that the system is such that, you know, it takes you, you have to get worse before you can get better in some ways.
Years ago, when we built up the Celtics on different occasions, we were fortunate enough to make some trades. But there's something about the Boston mystique that very few teams will deal with us. I don't know why.
How quickly can we get back? Jerry West and I like to kid. We have a little race going now. You know, it's kind of a 4-team race. You try to, you know, you try to do it through the draft.
The Celtics will have their highest pick since the ill-fated '86 draft. They'll be joined in the lottery by the Lakers. Showtime came to a close in 1991 when Magic retired. The Lakers are still looking for a new on and off court leader.
We have some good young players, but we don't have a star. And if you look at the good teams today, all of them have a big star on their team. We don't have that.
You mentioned you need a star to go along with all those young players. How are you going to get them, Jerry?
Pete, I have no idea. And it's one of those perplexing things that I think that we all, in our particular position, we all look at every day. How can we get one of those players? I think it's going to get easier in the future because I do think free agency is going to change.
How are you going to rebuild short term? You've got a lottery pick. There really, other than Grant Hill, there isn't a franchise player that I see unless Glenn Robinson comes out. Do you know something? You're smiling.
No, Pete, I do think there's some opportunities. You know, I mean, when we used to draft at the end of the draft, I always thought we were going to get a player. I do think there's going to be some players out there that are a little bit better than maybe some people think. And obviously, we're going to have a way to talk to some free agents this year, simply because we're going to have some big salary slots available.
The Pistons fell faster and further than the Lakers and Celtics. With Isaiah Thomas expected to retire, Joe Dumars will be the only holdover from Detroit's title teams.
I'm on that team right now that I used to look at and just shake my head and say, oh my God, I'd hate to be on a team like that. It's tough to accept that that there's going to be another world champion this year and I won't be nowhere near that team.
The good thing about professional basketball is if you have a decent core and you add two very, very good players, you can make a good jump. May not put you back up into the elite, but at least you become interesting again to watch and you have hope in a future.
The 76ers might have given away their future, Brad Daugherty, when they traded the first pick in '86 and also dealt Moses Malone. All but one of the top picks in the last 10 years, Purvis Ellison, turned into a franchise player who can take over a game and a season.
I felt, Pete, that at that time we should make something, but I wasn't sure about the first move, Daugherty move. That was the one that I said, let's sit on that first. But then they said do both simultaneously. And I said yes to it. So it started downhill from there.
2 years ago, the 76ers traded Charles Barkley to Phoenix and now are trying to rebuild around Sean Bradley and Clarence Weatherspoon.
You don't trade greatness. You got to have a superstar, at least one. It's better when you have two. It's better when you have three, you know. No question about it. But you need the go-to guy. You need the guy that when you're in trouble, give it to him, close your eyes, and magic happens.
Well, speaking of magic, he will join us live in just a few moments to talk more about this topic. That's after a message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. Okay, time is short. Let's not waste any of it. Magic Johnson standing by his final game as a coach of the Lakers. They'll take on the Utah Jazz in just a little bit, so he's at the Forum. You just saw the piece, Magic, of those four teams of the 80s. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Pistons, the 76ers. Which do you think is best positioned to rebuild rather quickly, and which is in the worst shape?
Well, I think that the 76ers with Bradley, you got to say that they're in a good position if he can come back from his injury. I think that the Celtics losing Reggie Lewis, unfortunately, that may hurt them and put them maybe right there with Detroit because Isaiah, if he's getting ready to retire, those two are right there. And then the Lakers right there with them. I say 76ers and all three of us bunch in after that, you know. It's going to be tough because, like everybody said, you need a star, and I think 76ers are the closest team to having one.
You heard what Joe Dumars said. He used to dread even the prospect of playing on a bad team after being with a great team. Now he is on a bad team like that, as was Isaiah this past year, and Robert Parrish, guys you've known and competed against. Could you have seen yourself playing and somehow enduring under circumstances like that with your track record of being with winners in college and pro?
Well, you could never see yourself being in that situation. Now, that's not to say I couldn't be in that situation, but I could never see myself in that situation. I know it must be tough for Joe because Joe is an ultimate pro. He's a competitor just like Isaiah, as well as Robert, and it had to be tough for them, and I wouldn't want to go through what they went through, that's for sure.
In this short stint as Laker coach, you've been pretty outspoken about the mindset in the league. And I'm not saying it's universal or it's every player, but you seem to feel that a lot of players, many of them on the Lakers, have an attitude toward the game that you just can't stand.
Well, you know, it's always me now first. It's I instead of we. And, yeah, I can't stand that. I can't understand it. It's not about winning. It's about let me get my contract, and then I made it to the NBA, so I made it, basically. And I've been telling young players, just because you made it to the NBA doesn't mean that you have made it. You have to make it by playing on the basketball court. And they don't want to do that. And then they want everything given to them. Now, I'm not saying it's all players, but it's the majority of young players because of the length of the contract that they get out of the draft. Now, there's some exceptions like Shaquille and Webber and Hardaway, and then there's some other ones too as well. they love basketball and they play hard every night, but then there's some others who don't.
Magic, could you ever see yourself coaching again? I know you'd like to own a team and maybe other business ventures, but could you ever, in the right circumstance, see yourself coaching again?
I can't see myself coaching again. I love the game, and I'll be at every game. I'll be at every playoff game, and I'm still a fan, and I want to help these young guys out. But I think I can do more helping them out on the sidelines than I can trying to coach them.
Magic, thanks a lot. Always great to talk with you.
Thank you.
Okay. A reminder that following the Knicks and the Bulls, we'll have Seattle and Portland, the Sonics with the league's best record at 62-19. And we'll send it back to Marv and Matt for the second half from Chicago after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Thursday, must-see.
Halftime in Chicago, the New York Knicks 44, Chicago Bulls 41. Marv Albert, Matt Gukas, and Ahmad Rashad. We welcome you back to the NBA Game of the Week. Matt, only a 3-point differential, but I would think that the Knicks have to be very well satisfied with their solid play in the first half on the road in a building where they've had major problems.
I think Pat Riley will want to take a tape of this first half to show his team at their minicamp next week in Charleston, South Carolina, to show them what tough, aggressive, physical defense is. That's an outstanding job by the New York Knicks in the first half.
Well, let's take a look at some of the halftime statistics. The Miller Genuine Draft halftime stats tell us the Knicks shooting 51% from the field on 18 of 35. So along with a good defensive play, 51% shooting. The Bulls at 14 of 38.
And when you play good defense, good things happen for you at the offensive end. And of those 18 field goals, 13 of them came off assists, which shows good ball movement and unselfish play at the other end.
And the Bulls with the advantage off the boards, 19 rebounds, the Knicks with 16. Scottie Pippen, you feel, though, taking too many shots, but Scottie overall 6 for 12 from the field, and he has 15 points to lead the way. We'll be right back. Back in Chicago, the final regular season game ever at Chicago Stadium. As we run down the leading scorers in the first half, Patrick Ewing with 13, 9 apiece for Hubert Davis and Charles Smith. Scottie Pippen, the only Bull in double figures with 15 points, 6 apiece for Longley and Grant. The Knicks have lost 14 of their last 15 regular season games here in Chicago. The last Knick victory at the stadium, February 12, 1993, that last season, 104-98 with Patrick Ewing scoring 36 points in that game. Ewing with the steal. Harper for Oakley. And the Knicks now lead 46-41.
And once again, pressured defense, active hands leading to a fast break opportunity for the Knicks, and good execution once again.
Myers, B.J. Armstrong open in the backcourt. Armstrong blocked. Grant with another opportunity.
One of the best offensive rebounders in the league, Horace Grant. And you're seeing another one out there, Charles Oakley, and that time Grant had the upper hand.
Harper and Davis at the guards. Oakley, Ewing, and Bonner up front. Opening minute in the third quarter. And the Knicks turn it over.
Here, everybody going for the block shot. Horace Grant getting inside Charles Oakley. Can't get the first one down, but second effort turns into a good bucket for Horace Grant.
Chicago off the offensive boards, a 10-3 margin over the Knicks. Armstrong coming up short. The New York Knicks opened this season by winning their first 7 games. They went at a steady pace before injuries hit key players. Injuries sidelining Doc Rivers and Charles Smith, Hubert Davis and John Starks. Anthony Mason played through a series of nagging ailments, and the Knicks tailed off. They bounced back by winning 15 in a row. They went undefeated in the month of March, and then hit another downslide. After losing 6 of 9, though, they have won their last 2. blowouts over weak teams, the Sixers and the Bucks. And to this point, they played here today against the Bulls. You know that Pat Riley and Phil Jackson want their clubs going into the playoffs on an up note. Armstrong, shot clock is down to 1, and they do not get it off. 24-second violation.
It looked like Bill Cartwright and B.J. Armstrong just caught over on the right side of the floor playing catch with it and just couldn't get anything going to the basket. That's why Phil Jackson wants the ball to be in the hands of Scottie Pippen.
You can see the Knicks and Chicago running 1 and 3 in terms of fewest shots allowed. And the Knicks with only 37 shots here today, but they made them count. Myers fouled by Davis, and he will go to the line.
Patrick Ewing is absolutely furious with referee Bill Spooner on that last jump shot. He was hit on the elbow by Bill Cartwright. You could see as he released the ball, the shot was definitely changed as Cartwright comes up here, and just the push under the tricep of Patrick Ewing, and Cartwright's been jawing with the officials ever since.
Myers a 72% free throw shooter.
Cartwright is whispering into the ear of Ewing right now, smiling a little bit. He said, "I finally got away with one."
How about Chicago now? About 10 of 18 from the line. We talked earlier about their 4 foul shooting, just under 71%. As a team that is in the bottom rung, number 24 in the league. Davis, yes, and it counts. Hubert Davis does it with the drive, and he'll go to the line.
I thought Cartwright had earlier hit underneath the arm of Ewing on the jump shot, and here's Bill Cartwright getting a uncharacteristic smile from Patrick Ewing during a basketball game.
Cartwright and Ewing had a very good relationship when they were teammates with the New York Knicks. 3-point play for Davis. He was fouled by Grant. So Hubert Davis with 12 points, and the Knicks now lead by 6.
And after Davis beat Pete Myers into the lane that time and made that field goal, he got right up in Myers' face and let him know about it.
Cartwright. Grant shooting. And a loose ball foul called on Chicago. It's on Myers. Myers and Harper exchanging some words. Look to be on the pleasant side of that instance.
Well, of course, Harper, an 11-year veteran, and Hubert Davis, a second-year player, probably saying to Pete Myers, "I'm going to watch out for my young player there. You better be careful."
And the matchup continues with Myers going against Davis. Davis got the step. Nice ball movement by the Knicks. Harper can't hit the 3 to finish it off. Knicks by 6. Crowd urging the Bulls on. Pippen takes the 3. Scottie Pippen hitting his 3rd 3-point field goal, and he brings Chicago within 3 points.
Well, they were saying the other night in the double overtime loss to Boston, a lot of the Bulls disappeared down the stretch. Nobody wanted the ball. Pippen tried to do everything himself. Looks like he might try to do that here this afternoon.
That won't count. It's an offensive foul. Davis called for the charge.
Hubert Davis, who takes it so well with his left hand. Scottie Pippen covering up a little bit there so he wouldn't get hurt, but did just step up high enough to take that charge. Pippen will try to do it at the offensive end, and he can certainly do it at the defensive end as well.
Steve Kerr has checked back in. So Pippen moves to the forward position. Kerr and Armstrong in the backcourt. Armstrong with Ewing stepping out to defend. Here comes Harper. 3-on-2. Ewing on the break, and he's hacked. Foul called on Kerr.
A good job of Patrick Ewing running the floor. However, Hubert Davis giving it to Patrick too far out on the floor where he couldn't get his feet together and finish.
Patrick Ewing 3 of 4 from the line as he steps to the line. Let's go over to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, Marv, I've just found out that late in the first half, Rolando Blackman bruised his left shoulder. They just diagnosed it as a badly bruised left shoulder, and he will not return to the game. Marv?
Rolando Blackman, last couple of years, has been hit by injuries. Last season, bothered by back problems right throughout. So Rolando is through the rest of the way. Knicks now lead 50-46.
Either Corey Gaines will get some minutes, or of course Harper can move over to the so-called big guard position when Greg Anthony comes into the game.
4 minutes gone by in the third. Luke Longley for Horace Grant. And Grant serving up a facial, and then looked like in playful fashion had some words for Patrick Ewing. 10 points for Grant. And the Knicks now lead 50-48. Patrick Ewing. And the ball is deflected over the backboard.
Big Luke Longley out on the play here as the Knicks tried to trap on that pick and roll situation. Horace Grant wide open underneath. Longley with his head up, and nobody can find Horace Grant underneath the basket.
7 minutes and 15 seconds remaining third quarter. Knicks by 2. Armstrong lost it. Shot clock down to 3. Pippen has to force. And it is a 24-second violation of the ball, not making contact with the rim.
B.J. Armstrong on penetration there inadvertently got hit by Anthony Bonner in the eye area, shaken up, but B.J. staying in the ball game.
Oakley got the step. Oh, he was walloped by Longley. That's 3 on Longley. The Bulls call for time with 6:50 to go in the third quarter. Oakley on the drive. Longley with the outstretched arm making solid contact on Charles Oakley. We'll be back after these words.
NBA on NBC is brought to you by MCI, the company that brings you proof positive worldwide. By Pennzoil, the motor oil you can rely on for performance, protection, and quality. And by Acura, who invites you to test drive the new 1994 Acura Integra.
Ahmad Rashad back at Chicago Stadium. Now, like we have mentioned earlier, this is one of the oldest stadiums in the country. It was actually open since 1929, and next year will give way to the United Center. That will be open next year. 960,000 square feet of luxury, and for basketball, the center will seat 21,500. It has 216 luxury suites, private cocktail lounges, and over 3,000 club seats. Now, it's not open yet, but already you can see there is some graffiti, and as you also can see, that spelling is not Marv's strong point. Was is W-A-S.
Ahmad staging his own punchlines now. Very nice. Well, what was once one of the world's largest enclosed sports arenas, Chicago Stadium, will be replaced by the $175 million state-of-the-art United Center, which is located right across the street.
Charles Oakley stepping to the free throw line as he took that ball hard to the basket. Could have been a flagrant foul by Luke Longley. It certainly was a hard one. You see Charles Oakley leading the league. That will all be wiped out after today. And the new number for the playoffs will be 4 flagrant fouls before a suspension can be handed down.
So they start all over once the playoffs begin this week in terms of flagrant fouls.
And a much closer look by the officials on taunting. Technicals will be called very, very quickly in that situation.
Pippen's shot was blocked by Oakley. Scottie Pippen thought he was fouled. The Knicks 52 and the Bulls 48. 6.5 remaining. Into the third. Bonner, Ewing, Oakley, up front, Davis, Hopper in the backcourt. Oakley coming up short. Oakley with the save. New 24 for the Knicks. Oakley trying to push Ewing off the blocks, a move performed so effectively over the years by Bill Cartwright. Patrick Ewing with 16 points. The Knicks have a 6-point lead. Steve Kerr and Horace Grant way off. Offer for Davis. Hubert
have been coming fast and furious for the Knicks today. They seem to be able to capitalize in every situation. Derek Harper does a good job of making decisions.
The Knicks by 8. They've led by as many as 9. Pippen picked up on the switch by Ewing. Kerr. And Ewing with the rebound.
Excellent defense once again by the Knicks as they're really moving their feet, clogging the lane, and just not letting the Bulls get comfortable at the offensive end of the floor.
Ewing checking the 24-second clock. Ewing with a beautiful move. Well, to this point, man, I'd have to say this about as well as the Knicks have played in several weeks. They have opened up a 10-point lead. The Bulls calling for time.
Ewing gets pushed off the block by Luke Longley, but he feels very comfortable facing up, putting the ball on the floor, taking it either middle or baseline because the big fella just cannot move his feet. And once again, Ewing out on the floor. This time he's going to beat him through the lane as all Luke Longley can do is try to grab.
For the Knicks, the last 3 minutes, an 8-0 run, and they have a 10-point advantage.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
Today's Miller Genuine Draft Genuine Moment pays tribute to some of this season's statistical leaders in the scoring race that will resume later on today. Shaquille O'Neal with a slight edge on David Robinson. Shaquille and the Orlando Magic at home tonight for New Jersey. David Robinson and his Spurs playing the Clippers in Los Angeles later this afternoon. In the rebounding department, Dennis Rodman will wrap up the title, averaging better than 17 per game, followed by Shaquille O'Neal and Kevin Willis. 3-point percentage leaders. Tracy Murray of Portland is number 1. B.J. Armstrong and Steve Kerr of the Bulls in the number 2 and 3 positions. In recognition of this moment, Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. 8:45 remaining on the 4. Knicks led by as many as 13, now lead by 7. The foul committed by Scott Williams.
Tony Kukoc, and when you close down on Tony Kukoc, you don't want him to go to his left hand where he is strong. Smith is going to force him to this middle here. The defense is going to converge right there and create an open shot for Bill Wennington. Good penetration by Kukoc. Smith has been doing a good job until that particular sequence.
Charles Smith is 2 for 3 from the line. He has 10 points. Here's Patrick Ewing for Herb Williams. Ewing playing with 4 fouls, 9 of 12 from the field for his 22 points. The Knicks 73 and the Bulls 64. It is already for certain that the Bulls will open up the playoff series on Friday here at home. The opponent still to be determined. And Kerr's pass carries out of bounds. Kukoc claiming that it was deflected by the Knicks. And the New York Knicks not certain as to whether they will open up Thursday or Friday, and still not certain about their first-round opponent. Smith blocked by Williams. Scott Williams on the rejection.
Wow, 2 straight post-up opportunities for Smith, but he has been getting pushed way off the block. That was an outstanding defensive play by Scott Williams.
Wennington with the head fake. Ewing went for it, did not want to pick up another foul, and then knocked out of bounds by the Knicks.
Smith trying to get inside, and long outstretched arm by Williams, even with Charles Smith fading away on the play. Charles Smith, who was a very good post player with the Clippers, struggling so far with those opportunities today.
Kukoc was looking for contact, but again, Ewing was not going to touch him because he did not want to collect his fifth. Ewing with the drop step. Williams on the rebound. Looking to fire deep, but Kukoc was covered. Scottie Pippen with the leg block. Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant sitting it out for a while. Pippen has played 30 minutes. Grant with 28. Grant did bruise his knee at the end of the third quarter in that collision with Greg Anthony. So it is Williams, Kukoc, and Weddington on the front line with Kerr and Paxson in the backcourt. Phil Jackson taking a long look at that backcourt combination here today.
And now giving Scottie Pippen a rest, seeing if Tony Kukoc can pick it up here in the fourth period, take over a lot of the ball handling responsibilities with Kerr and Paxson out on the wing. See what he can find out about his team in the closing minutes here. Although I think the Bulls do have one more run left in them, and I would expect Pippen to get back in this game.
Knicks with a 73-64 lead. Seeking to make it 3 of 4 on the season over the Bulls. Smith, Charles Smith, looking very sharp offensively. He is 5 of 9, 13 points in all. The Knicks lead 75-64. Timeout call.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. By Hewlett-Packard LaserJet and DeskJet printers. And by Nissan. It's time to expect more from a car.
Welcome back to Chicago. The Knicks by 11, 6:45 remaining in the fourth quarter. Matt, in preparation for the playoffs, the Chicago Bulls staff with 2 cameras isolated. One is just for a general shot of the game, and the other, we're told, is isolated on Patrick Ewing. What does the coaching staff hope to gain from that? I'm sure they'll be looking at it over the next 2-3 days.
Well, so much of the Knicks game focuses around Patrick Ewing at both ends of the floor. They want to know everything that he does, and I'm sure Luke Longley will be thrilled about this, as he was victimized by 9 points in the third period by Patrick Ewing.
Shot clock. Down to 5. Scott Williams did get a piece of the glass and then called for a foul. That's number 3 committed by Scott Williams. The Bulls with their 14th foul. The Knicks do not have any. Greg Anthony, Derek Hopper in the backcourt. Patrick Ewing, Charles Smith, Anthony Bonner up front. Out of 4 on the 24. Here's Ewing. Paxson looking to set up for the shot. Was looking for a pick. Weddington. Williams. Weddington keeps it alive. And Paxson hit by Anthony. Here comes Scottie Pippen checking in for the first time this fourth quarter. Anthony called for his first. B.J. Armstrong, who has been very quiet, getting set to come on. B.J. 0 for 5 from the field.
These 2 teams are 2 of the best defensively in the league, and a big reason for it is what they do at the offensive end as far as controlling the tempo, and that's why the scores are so low generally when they play.
Nice play. The alley-oop lead thrown by Kerr. So Pippen has 24, and the Knicks now lead 75-66. 5:20 to go in the fourth. Knicks have lost 14 of the last 15 regular season games here in Chicago. Ewing with the recovery. Patrick Ewing got it back. He has 24 points, and again the Knicks lead by 11. Kukoc comes up high to set the screen. Pippen checked the clock. Down to 3. Pippen 4-3. Rebounded by Smith.
Good defense by the New York Knicks as they take a lot of options away from the Chicago Bulls in their triangle offense and force Scottie Pippen to take a wild shot or a bad shot at the end of the shot clock, which happens so often with this offense.
Anthony hits the 3-pointer, and it gives the Knicks a commanding 14-point lead. Kukoc not looking in the direction of that Wennington pass. Here's Anthony again for three. And rebounded by Kukoc. Steve Kerr. The Knicks 80 and the Bulls 68.
Well, until that last missed shot by Greg Anthony, the Knicks did a terrific job of coming down 3 straight possessions, using a lot of shot clock, and then making a big field goal at the end of it.
Ewing hit on the reach-in. Pippen picks up his second.
Shot clock winding down. Patrick Ewing, all he's trying to do is get fouled here as he splits Wennington and Pippen. No whistle, but gets the ball back and athletically able to go off 1 foot and put the ball up soft. And Patrick Ewing looking very sharp at both ends of the floor. He looks like he is primed for the playoffs.
Ewing 4 for 7 from the line. The crowd beginning to file out here at Chicago Stadium. Final regular season game here at the stadium. The Knicks' first ever visit to Chicago Stadium back on November 2nd, 1946. Only the second game in the club history of the New York Knicks, and they were beaten by the Chicago Stags 63 to 47. Leo Gottlieb led the Knicks with 12 points. Sonny Hertzberg, Stan Stutz, 8 apiece. Max Zaslowski, who went on to play for the Knicks, led the Stags with a game-high 18 points. That a big number in those days.
I'm sure you did not broadcast that game.
Matt, you have been very cruel. I was barely around on this earth. We're down to 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Scottie Pippen going off with 1 foot. Charles Smith was doing a lot of good things at both ends of the floor, straight up in the air to keep Pippen from getting that shot off. Charles Smith has to feel good about his game today at both ends of the floor.
Well, the Knicks with 9 blocked shots. Ewing with 5. Anthony Bonner, 2 of 4 from the line. Anthony, that is being on fire at the line. 3 for 5. Bonner with 7 points in all.
Bonner plays good defense, runs the floor, finishes around the basket, climbs the offensive board. In close ball games, however, it's very difficult to keep him on the floor because of that poor foul shooting. He'll get hacked every time coming down in a close game.
Knicks by 15. Just under 3 minutes to go in the fourth. Scott Williams for Chicago, and the Knicks now lead 83-70. Offensive foul. Otto went right at Scott Williams and is called for the charge.
Pat Riley not happy with this. Scott Williams does step up, maybe a little bit late, and turns the shoulder, but you've got to get up to that dotted line to get the call from the officials.
Timeout taken with 2:39 left in the fourth.
Ahmad Rashad back at Chicago Stadium now on December 16th. Doc Rivers on this drive against the Lakers blows out his knee. He has surgery. He's out for the season. But since that time, he has been working out lightly and has expressed a hope of coming back in the later rounds in the playoffs. Doc, is that a fact?
It's a very good possibility. We have to decide by tomorrow, unfortunately, because you have to have a 12 list into the playoffs. But we have a good shot. I'm healthy. I feel good.
How have you been feeling doing your workout?
Feel pretty good. Guys are going around me just like when I was playing, so no different.
All right, Doc, good luck to you. Hopefully we'll see you in the playoffs. All right, back to you, Marv.
Thank you. That's a very difficult decision for the Knicks, because the feeling is if Doc would be able to play, as Bonner lost it and Kukoc puts it down. The Knicks now lead 83-72 with 2:15 remaining in the fourth, and again pressure by Chicago. If Rivers were to play, it would not be until very late into the playoffs. The other decision for the Knicks to make tomorrow is the subject of Anthony Mason. And Williams foul by Scott Williams. Anthony Mason suspended indefinitely back on Thursday for conduct detrimental to the team. We asked Pat Riley about the lifting of the suspension, and Pat claims, I know you don't buy it, Pat, but he said that they have not made up their mind as of yet. The rosters have to be set by 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow.
Well, maybe the final decision has not been made. They'll talk about it on the plane ride home. But Anthony Mason has been a key player for this team, especially when they've been successful. And this is going to be a very key guy in a very touchy situation as well, because coming back from a serious knee surgery, and you don't want to rush him back. He's a big part of this franchise, but they are going to need him to go deep in the playoffs.
Talking with John Starks, who will be placed on the roster tomorrow. Kukoc way off. And John Starks, as it turns out, is a key figure for the Knicks because of the fire that he provides, because of the kind of defense that he plays. The Knicks went through that 15-game win streak without Starks. You hardly heard Starks' name being mentioned, but then when they hit the tailspin, suddenly people will say, hey, Knicks missed John Starks. And they went to the 6 losses in 9 games. Armstrong for Williams. Scott Williams cuts it to an 11-point lead, a minute 20 remaining in this fourth quarter. Chicago with only 33 points in the second half, 17 in the third quarter, 16 here in the fourth. Tight first half. Knicks led by 3 at the half. And they pulled away in the third quarter. Charles Smith has had a very strong game. 15 points for Smith, and the Knicks now lead 87-74.
And that's been an important part of this ball game. The Knicks using the shot clock and making big hoops in the last 4 or 5 seconds of the 24-second clock.
Scott Williams. He was fouled, blocked by Bonner. Eric Anderson and Corey Gaines, the numbers 11 and 12 men on the Knick roster. Getting set to check in. Eric Anderson receiving playing time recently because of the blowouts against Philadelphia and Milwaukee. He has proven to be a Madison Square Garden favorite. The crowd went wild the other night when he hit a 3-point shot against the Philadelphia 76ers. Eric Anderson in his second year out of Indiana. And Corey Gaines, a player who has been around a number of NBA teams, was leading the CBA in assists when he was signed to a contract. Corey Gaines, though, has played some meaningful minutes for the Knicks, filling in at times, and has done a good job. Knicks with an 87-74 lead, just under 1 minute remaining in the fourth quarter. The Knicks are headed to their 57th win, and Derek Hopper knocks down the 3. The Knicks now lead 90-74. So the Knicks will close the regular season with 3 straight wins. And the Bulls will close with that double overtime defeat at the hands of the Celtics on Friday, which knocked them out of any possibilities of finishing first in the Eastern Conference. And a loss here today where they did not play particularly well.
I think that double overtime loss took a lot of the spirit out of the Bulls. They made a good effort today, but too much New York Knicks as they played a very strong basketball game here today.
Coming up next, second part of a doubleheader, Seattle against Portland. Scottie Pippen with 26 points. Knicks lead 90-76. And this game will conclude with neither the Knicks or the Bulls with any knowledge as to who they will be playing in the first round of the playoffs. There are still several possibilities remaining revolving around Cleveland and New Jersey. Kerr for the foul with 8 seconds remaining. And Pat Riley has to like the way the season ended, although thoroughly disappointed with the loss last Sunday against Charlotte. The Hornets without Alonzo Mourning suspended for the fight with Luke Longley, and then the loss at home to the Atlanta Hawks, which really hurt. And that was followed up by the suspension of Anthony Mason, because Mason unhappy for the benching of the second half of the game against Atlanta. So that will wrap it. Final regular season game ever here at Chicago Stadium. Patrick Ewing leading the Knicks, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocked shots. Strong game for Charles Smith, 15 points for Smith. And Scottie Pippen, the high man for the Bulls, with 26. Final score, the Knicks 92 and the Bulls 76. We'll be back to wrap it in a moment. Back in Chicago, the Knicks defeat the Bulls 92-76. They take the season series 3-1. Charles Smith, 15 points. Scottie Pippen with 26. Patrick Ewing leading the Knicks with 25 points. Let's go to Ahmad with Patrick.
All right, thanks, Marv. Patrick, coming into this game, everybody talking about it meaningless, and you guys know anytime you play this team, it becomes personal.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's far from meaningless. You know, we might face the team in the playoff, and we want to make sure we go in there, you know, come into this game in the right frame of mind so we can get that edge in the playoff.
You guys were a little rough about a week and a half ago, but now you feel like you got it rolling?
Yeah, we're getting it back. You know, we're getting it back right, you know, and at the right time, going into the playoffs, and we figure to do well in the playoffs.
All right, good luck to you, Patrick. All right, back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad, again, that final score, Knicks 92 and the Bulls 76. We'll be back here in Chicago right after these words. A reminder coming up next here on NBC, the second half of our NBA doubleheader. Shawn Kemp and the Seattle Supersonics. NBA best 62 victories for the Sonics, taking on Clyde Drexler and the Portland Trailblazers. Again, the final, the Knicks 92, the Bulls 76. Marv Albert, Matt Gukas, Ahmad Rashad saying so long from Chicago.
A deadliest.